Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender Europe, designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. We are going into the May 1941 turn. We had rolled weather last turn. It was get started here. It was poor in the cold, poor in the mild, and it was warm in the fair in the warm zone. So we kind of skipped through the declaration of war phase here. We'll be going into economies. We all move our counters around. That takes care of. You'll notice I took one off the Germans and gave it to the Romanians. I felt I had to move 2 Romanians this turn. And he gave one to the Italians from the British. Okay. Now we're going into strategic warfare. I'm at a 2. He's at a 0. I don't think we had anything to play this turn. No. So I just rolled a 4. He rolled a 3, so nothing happened. Went to strategic movement. Zoom out a little bit here because I can't remember what I did here. Pull this over here. I believe, yes. Take the guy that's in Posen, and I just put him in the line. Russia gets to roll next turn, so I have to have some kind of a coherent line to at least slow him down, hopefully. And in the West, I'm not sure if he did anything. Nope, he didn't do anything. And the Soviets brought someone up to bolster up their line. Getting set, he's hoping to get Romania before I can reinforce it and then, like, take it apart with the Russian army. So then we went into Axis operations. We're going to zoom in here real quick. And most of the action is going to be right here in Italy. So, excuse me. I go to do some air combat. Second Luft is going against Fighter Command. I rolled a net of 2. He rolled a net of 1, so I didn't get a 2 for 1, so we just took that out. And then I tried the Third Luft against the 1st Italian Air. And again, I can't roll to get the 2 for 1, so it's just going to be 2 for each of us. So that means I have 3 sorties left on the 5th Luft. That's all I have to use right now. Then I think I go move the Romanians. This guy moves to there. And that Romanian moved from Constanta to the swamp. I like sitting in the swamp because you're -2 coming across it. So you'd have to use airplanes and tanks to get a bonus. And he has a retreat route to Constanta. I can't say that word. And it also, if he goes ahead and takes out the Romanian army here, he's the zone of control there, so he actually has to take out pretty much both of them to get either eliminate one or push both back in order to make advances on to Bucharest. So that's why I did all that. Now I'm going to go back to Italy, I believe. And so I activate the 4th Panzer to attack the 11th Army. Leaves me with 7 movement points. He starts off at 0. I start off at +2 for German, +2 for armor, -1 for the mountain. So right now it's +3 to +1. I think we're going to go to combat commitment here. It was kind of a no-brainer. We both knew we were going to commit. I obviously threw in the airplane from the 5th Luft, and he threw his free forces this turn, which I found interesting. So he got +1, I got +2, so it's +5 to +1. And I rolled dismally, got a grand total of 6. He rolled a 6 + 1, got a grand total of 7. And then 6 turns before he sees free forces again, so it'll be like November or something like that. So then I spent 3 more. I have to move this infantry unit so I can get his 8th will be isolated and I can actually attack it at advantage. So that's what I'm doing here. So I went at it again. Went to combat commitment. I did and he did not, which kind of surprised me. I thought he'd throw his tanks there right away. But he saved it, so I went up to 5 sorties. Got a +5 to 0. Rolled a grand total of 9. He rolled a 6. 9 to 6 is just enough to get a DR. So I did retreat him. He goes back into the city. I go ahead and take the hex. And then I have 4 movement points left. It costs 2 for the city, 1 for the river, and 1 for the unit. So I went ahead and did the attack there. I'm +2. I think I started from the ground up. Went +2 for German, +2 for armor, +2 for isolation, -1 for the river, -1 for the city. So it's +4 to 0 right now. Don't know if we went to combat commitment. Yes, we did. Neither one of us committed. And so then I rolled dismally again, a 5 to a 6, so I didn't even get to flip the guy. So that was a horrible offensive. Next up, I activated the 2nd Panzer to go after the Western Desert Force. I start off on a net 3. He starts off at a net 1. And then I think we go to combat commitment here. Oh, I set my movement points. So I have 7 movement points left. We both committed. So he's going to be throwing his tanks marker. I used up my airplane. There's his tanks. And then we roll. Again, dismally. Grand total of 5 or 6. And he rolled a 3 + 3 was a 6, so nothing happened. I attacked again. Now I'm only a +3 and he's a +1. Put his tanks back on the turn track. And I rolled. I got a grand total of 5. He got a 5, so I spent 3 more. It's looking more and more like Italy's going to hold on forever here. Got a grand total of 7. And he managed to finally roll a 1 instead of me rolling the 1. And 7 to 2 on the combat results table is kind of important because it's actually a DD result. So he was flipped and retreated. Then I went ahead and activated the 1st Panzer, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to attack into Genoa. So I have 4 movement points left. He starts off at a -1. I start off at a +3. We didn't have anything left to allocate, so we didn't have to go to combat commitment. I rolled a 5 + 3, which is an 8. At -1, I'm going to at least force him to retreat. 5 - 1 is a 4. He's retreated. He tried to take his convoy with him. And then he, I think he takes his convoy like all the way back to Belfast or something. I'm not quite sure why he keeps going to Belfast. I mean, I would go, is it Home Fleet? I guess he's got, I don't know, he has 3 convoys here. I don't know why he took his 4th one back. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's what he did. So we'll go back to Italy. He took the hex. He has 4 movement points left, so I said, what the heck, let's take a shot. Make sure I had a control there. I was checking to see if he lost a factory, but he didn't. It was just 2 points for the... I should probably bring that up. He has lost 2 points now for will. So there's something. And then spent my last 4 movement points. I'm only at +2 now because I'm +2 for German, +2 for armor, -1 for the river, -1 for the city. And he's still at a -1. And I rolled a grand total of 7 again. And he rolled a 5. -1 is a 4, which is just enough to make him retreat, which is only legal retreat route. And so I get to take another city. He loses 2 more will points. And a factory. Then I activated, I think, the 3rd Panzer here. Yeah. Activated the 3rd Panzer to attack into Onya. So I'm a net of +2. He's at a 0. And then he threw in his tank because I didn't have anything I could throw. So it was 2-2. I rolled a 7. And he rolled a 3 + 2 is a 5, so that kept him from having to retreat. So he held on for a turn. I spend my last attack I have on this city. He's at a 0 now, and I'm at a +2. Put that on the turn track. I rolled a grand total of 7. And he just rolled a 4, which was just enough to force a retreat. So he retreated him to there, put the airplane in Rome. I took the city, so he lost another city and another factory. So his will should go down by 2. His factory count goes down to 4. And now I spent 1 more point here. Move this infantry 1 point to there because I'm moving from one zone of control to another enemy zone of control, which is legal. It's not the same unit zone of control. And then I attack the 8th at +4 to 0. We don't have anything left anymore. That's because he's isolated. And that left me with 5 movement points. Rolled a grand total of 7. He rolled a 3, which flipped him. So now he'll spend 2 more. And he'll be at -2 to my +4. And a 10 guarantees that he dies. Doesn't even have to roll the dice. He lost a will point, and then I looked at this and said, I have to go back here, otherwise I'll end up with this Panzer being out of supply. And I didn't want that, so. And ended my turn there. And then I only had really one last thing I could try to do. And so I did try it here. I saved the armor just for this specific thing. Remember, it's poor weather up here, so I had to attack with an assault, but fortunately he's isolated, so I end up with I'm +2. This guy here's the primary. So I'm +2 for that, the infantry, +2 for isolation, +1 for buddy is 5, +1 for a tank is 6, and then it's -1 for the weather and -1 for the rough terrain. So it's a +4 to a 0. I rolled dismally. 2 + 4 is only a 6. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll get lucky and get a flip, right? And he rolled another 1, which was exactly what I needed because he only had 1 will point left, and 1 is a DD on a 6. Check the combat results table. 6 to 1 is a DD. So he's flipped and can't retreat, so he's gone. And he goes to 0. So now we start doing the conquest of Italy, and we just kind of went through it bit by bit. Took off the Italian units. Put the Italian 1 wills marker in my conquered box. Got rid of that stuff there. Oh, and then I think I started putting down control markers in all of his cities because he gets control of all those cities. Oh, and I'm not sure about this, but since it was still Italian, we said that Tobruk Fort had to go away. my question is if he had railed, for instance, if he had railed the 10th Army into Tobruk, would it flip to becoming British or would it stay Italian? I think it has to be that they have to capture it, so since it was Italian and it's on his side, it just goes away when it gets conquered. There's no way for him to keep it. Oh yeah, put one down in there and in Trieste. Okay. And then I get a marker in the bucket. Got one that I put in Yugoslavia because it's adjacent to Italy. Put a garrison in my conditional box. My national will went up by 8, so I ended up at 66. I played around here thinking I couldn't add here for a while. He finally corrected me. And then there's another step in there when you conquer Italy, you actually get a second pro-axis marker. So I have 2 in the cup. And if you remember from last time, he had put in, based on what he had pulled, there was only 2 no events left there. So now I'm at a 50-50 chance. And I'm not sure what I'm doing now. I moved another point here somewhere. Oh yes, I moved the 6th up here. That's to prevent him from being able to put the Western Desert Force. Could have moved 1 to here. And then this guy could have moved 1 to there. And he would have had a supply line if I didn't cut it. By moving the infantry unit there, the entire British Army is now out of supply. Or it will be at the end of his turn. Unless he does something about it. And then I think, yeah, I activated the Africa Army and marched it up to being at the front to fill in another hole. I'm not sure what else. And then that was it. Because I wanted to have 2 points to flip over this guy and be able to bring back my airplanes. And I was holding on to where was I at? Yeah, I was at 13. So if I go 2 for that and 6 for 2 airplanes, I still would have 5 to try and get that political success. So that's what I was trying for. And then we went into Western Ops. And he decided to try and kill the Western Desert Force in an attack. And that's a legal move because he's going from one unit zone control to another's. And then he attacks the Panzer unit. What does it do? Yes, he moved there. He was trying to figure out what was the best chance for him to lose. So he moved there, attacked the Panzer. He's starts off at -1 because he's +1 for British, -2 for being flipped. And then -1 for the river, -1 for the city. And I, of course, am at +4 because I'm a Panzer. So he rolls a 1, which is what he really needed. He needed to get a net 1 somehow. And then, of course, I obliged him and rolled an 8. So that's a step loss for the attacker, and that's what he wanted, because now he'd be able to build it next turn and not have to deal with it being out of supply. So, and then next up, oh, yeah, we had some stray Italian pieces that we had to get rid of. I'm not sure. And then he moved the BEF down there and just decided to not do anything with it. And then he moved the second convoy with the Malta unit. I had a surface action, and he chose not to escort it. And I just went ahead and went after it. We set it here. I'm at +1. And he's at -2. -2 for the weather, +2 for the British convoy. So he's at a 0. And then, yeah, he's at a net -2. +2 for being British, -2 for weather, -2 for being a convoy. And I'm +1 as a German, but -2 for the weather. So hoping for a big split here to make Malta be activated and stay in Cardiff. That was me just going through the numbers again to make sure that we did it right. And then, of course, I rolled Dismal. There's another one of my ones, so he gets through. Fortunately, he did not do more than one sortie on me, so I'll be back in 2 turns. And then Malta just comes flipping around here, and I think he put it in Naples. And then the 9th moved over to there to try and protect his airplane. And then the 10th, he moved to Haifa. And then he moved this convoy all the way. He thought he could get to Haifa. When we counted again, he had to stop in Alexandria because it's 10 to C-Zone 25. And he tried to see if he could count to get there, and he couldn't. So he just stopped there. And I don't think... Was that it? I'm not sure what we're doing. Oh, he's over here with the Russians. Yeah, I never got around to switching the stuff, so he's moving Russians now. So you can see he's building up. He's got 4 armies with another one in support and an airplane to come after the Romanians. So things are not looking good for the Romanians if he rolls a 4, 5, or 6. And then that was the end of his operations. So we went into no supply. Nobody did anything there. Placements for the Axis. I was very careful here. 2 for that. And then I took off the guy that was on the coast because that would help me interdict his airplane, his fleet, if he decided to do some kind of an invasion at Genoa before I could do anything about it. And of course the 5th Luft, because it's the closest thing to being able to get over to through Belgrade if I get, pull well in the Diplomacy Cup. West basically just fixed his airplane and his convoys. He's got plenty of points. Soviets, I don't think had anything. There was no upgrades. Mobilization, I did not spend anything. He couldn't. So we go to the diplomacy. It's 50-50. I have 2 Axis Pros and there's 2 no events in the cup. And I pulled a no event. So now he's got a 2/3 chance of getting one of my pro markers out, making it even less likely that I'll be able to pull it next turn, assuming I have a next turn. And then the West pulled, and he also pulled a no event. This put the Russians in a quandary, because if they pull, yeah, they'll get 1 pro marker, but if he doesn't come into war, there'll only be an Axis pro marker in there, which means I would guarantee to get Yugoslavia. So we discussed that, and he decided, yeah, you're right. So he put a political failure and a no event in there, in the hopes of me pulling the political failure, obviously, or the no event, and then he would be able to stop me from getting Yugoslavia as an ally. So I managed to conquer Italy this turn, but it was very disconcerting. way of having to do it. So we go to the end of turn phase. Wrong thing. So I think we're just getting back our markers. I picked up a submarine, he picked up a tank and an ultra, and then we go to the policy evaluation die roll, and he was very nice to me and rolled a 3. So it goes into July, and I get one more turn to try and get the Yugoslavs in. Okay. So now we go to the weather track. Oops, don't want the combat result table. Player 8 card. So we go ahead and flip to the current weather phase, roll. It is severe in the, or poor in the, it's May, June. So it was poor and I rolled a 5-6, so it's still poor in the cold. The mild is a fair and the warm is also poor. So you should see switch that. And we didn't do any declarations of war, went into economies. This is just us moving our counters around. Nothing changed. Strategic warfare. I'm +2. He's at 0. And we both played our markers. Did we go to combat commitment? Yes, we did. It was like no-brainer. Both played our markers. I rolled a 5. +2 is 7. Round down to 3.5. Halved is 3.5 rounds to a 4. He rolled a 4. Divided by 2 is a 2. So my 4 to his 2 actually made him lose a factory. And we forgot to put those guys on the board. So he lost a factory, and then I rolled a 4 for my submarines, and he rolled a 2 for his ultra. So his ultra will come back before my subs, and he'll be able to do something about that. So strategic movement, I decided that I needed to get a Panzer over to the east somewhere. So I grabbed him and moved him up here to the north, where I had sort of a hole in my line. Underneath that airplane. The west, I'm not sure if he did anything. Don't think he had a strategic move. And then the Soviets, I don't think had a strategic move either. Right, we went right into Axis operations. Okay. So I moved. What did I do here? Oh, I spent 2 points because I'm going to move 2 infantry units. I moved the garrison into Calais. And then this guy goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 into Antwerp. Because he was going to get Western Desert Force, and I wanted to have Antwerp with a real infantry in it, because that's sort of a key port. And I'm not sure what I do next. Oh, because we're in poor weather in the Med, we know that it's just automatic, 1 sortie each. Then I moved the 5th Luft up, because I figured I had exactly 1 attack here. This armored there, and this infantry there. Oh, I think, are we doing combat commitment? Yeah, we're doing combat commitment. I had to undo things because I lost my unit somewhere along the way. So I had 2 for the infantry unit being the primary, and 2 for the armored unit adding into the thing. So I was starting off at a net 2 to -1. He threw in his tanks, I threw in mine, and I threw in the airplane. So I ended up with a net +2 into his 0. And I rolled a 4 + 4, which was an 8. And he rolled a 4, which let him retreat. So I took it with the infantry. Put our tanks. Someday we'll put our tanks on the marker. Then I had the 1st Panzer attack his garrison unit, Gibraltar garrison unit. So I was +4 to, actually it should be +3 to his -3 because that's on the fair side of the weather line. So I rolled a 7, rolled a 1, so he was eliminated. And then I ended his activation, and then I moved this infantry up, this infantry up, and the Panzer, all for an assault at, he's at -1 net. And I was at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then -1 for the weather. So +6 to -1, hoping to get lucky. Rolled a grand total of 8. He rolled a 2, -1, which was a 1, so he is DD'd, so that guy is eliminated. This is a willpower. Took it with the garrison so I'd get him on a rail line, and then I'm moving the guy in Königsberg just up to the border. And I'm not sure I think I'm going to move some infantry down here. Yes. What am I moving here? I'm trying to think of what I'm moving. Yeah, my eliminated box. My eliminated thing should have been in my mobilization, just like his UK Western Desert Force. And I'm not sure I moved anything else. Yep, that was it. So that was all I could do there. He activates his Malta garrison. That was 1, 2, 3, 4. He thought he could go that far, but it said, oh, you're in low supply, you can't get there. So he's thought about where he was going to go with it. And he's like, well, I'm definitely picking this guy up, bringing him into Taranto. And then when we thought about where he could move, we went, he could do this instead. And move that one over there. And I said, yeah, that's okay. Still his move, no die rolls were made. And then you put that one up to 2 sorties for supply. And he said, no, this guy, he didn't supply the 10th. I thought he was going to supply all 3, but he just supplied the 2 in the front. So, and now he's going to move some Russians around again, I think. And that was essentially all he did. We went into no supply phase, replacements for the Axis. And this time I have 15 points. I have to save 5. So I thought I was going to end up with an infantry flipped or something. I flipped up all 3 airplanes. I must have been at 14. And then, of course, he just gets his airplane and his ships back. Oh, I went right by it. So here's the diplomacy phase, the most important one of the game. And the Germans pulled their pro-axis. So they managed to get it, what they needed to get themselves a rail line to save Romania. So I start putting Yugoslavs down. Put those things on the turn track, or on the national tracks. And then he decided he's just going to stack up the cup. He just basically put 2 no events from each of his allies. So there's like 5 no events, a political failure, and 1 German pro marker in case diplomacy should go on. So we get the victory check. We're at the end of turn phase. I think we just get stuff here. Oh, and then he rolls, and this time it's a 6. So no chance for diplomacy to go on. I don't get the choice. We're at activated, so that goes away. This gets flipped and put in July of 1945 because it's before August of 41 that all the packs are gone. And then we shifted the U.S. by a turn for all of their stuff because they come in a turn late because it's July, not June. And I think this is me shifting them all up here too to match the turns as well. Okay, activated pieces are set, and we're done. So I managed to finally conquer Italy in May of 1941. I got a lucky die roll at the beginning of the June turn, so the Russians didn't come in. I had failed the May 50-50 chance to get Yugoslavia in. Got lucky that he didn't pull any of my pro markers, and then got the 50-50 in the end of June. So next turn I'll be able to rail one of these, extra panzers that are in Italy. I'll be able to rail him like right here into Romania to discourage the Russians from trying to conquer Romania. Unfortunately, if I go for a Barbarossa in July of 41, it's not going to work real well because I don't have a lot of armor here to punch big holes. So his forward defense kind of makes sense because it's not the kind of... If all 4 of my armored units were on there, I don't think I'd see this many Russians on the front. I think I'd see maybe 3 or 4, holding some cities to slow me down, and the rest would be back along Minsk and the Duna and the Dniester and stuff. But since I don't have that much to fight him with, he has a good chance of stuffing me up. Anyway, I've gone a little long here, so I'm going to cut this short. I'm Jun41. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Hit that like button so the algorithms for YouTube keep videos up and fresh for everybody. And until we see you again, everybody stay safe and bye-bye.